I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution.
Hello, and welcome back to the Midday Muscle. I'm Tyler. Let's do it. Well, at this point, we should only be a few hours away from kicking off the Empro Classic in Alicante, Spain, where we're going to see Michael Krizo make his highly anticipated season debut. And right now, I think that if we pulled most of you guys out there, you'd have to have him heading into the weekend as the runaway favorite. This is an interesting spot for Krizo in a lot of ways because it's probably the first time in his pro career that he's coming into the weekend as a pre-show favorite. And there have been plenty of times in the past where we've seen guys have trouble dealing with that kind of stress. With all that said though, Krizo doesn't seem like he's really the type to crack under pressure. So if he can just show up and play his game, he might just be able to cruise out of there with an easy W. Now, if there is one guy on this IFBB roster who can match Krizo in terms of size and physical structure, it's gotta be Peter Klancir, who we're also gonna see make his way back to the stage for the second time this season. When Peter competed earlier in the year, it was his first time back in nearly 4 years, so there was a little bit of rust to knock off. But since then, he and his team managed to regroup and tighten a few things up, and now it looks like he's coming into the weekend ready to bring his all-time best. Peter's always had great flow and aesthetics for a guy his size, so if the conditioning is where it needs to be, at the very least, it should make for an interesting first call-out if the judges get him next to Krizo to see how they stack up. Omeragic is another name in this open lineup you might want to keep an eye on here, because it looks like there's potential for him to be someone who can upset the proverbial apple cart here. Back in April, Amir looked really good in his season debut at the Arnold Brazil, where he placed third behind Beyraz Tabani, who was a one-man wrecking crew there as we saw, and Wellington Baptista, who we're going to talk about in a minute. But we have it on good authority from people close to Amir's camp that they're really happy with the progress he's been able to make over the last 6 weeks, and that they think he'll be able to blow away the look he brought to the stage in Brazil. That should give him a chance to contend for his first pro win. This lineup looks like it'll be the deepest that he's ever faced on paper, but if he breaks into the top 3 here, like he did in Brazil, that's probably a pretty good omen for how the rest of his season is going to shake out. Well, I'm not sure midnight horse is really a term, but it doesn't quite feel right to call Wellington Baptista a dark horse here, given that we just talked about 3 other guys who are all gunning for the top spot at the Empro. Nevertheless, he deserves to have his name mentioned in this conversation too. And like just mentioned a moment ago, he was the runner-up at the Arnold Brazil behind Beyraz Tabani, already besting Amir at one point this year. On top of that, his physique has better shape and flow than Peter Klancir, so there's definitely a world in which he comes in here and finds himself competing for a top 2 spot again. Granted, he might not have the same size as these other guys, but he does have everything else. So when it's all said and done here, he could end up being one of the biggest surprises of the entire weekend. That'll do it for yet another Midday Muscle. I'm Tyler, this is Arx Muscle, thanks for watching.